Peace and welcome to a Top 10. Today we are taking a look at the soundtrack to Blood Omen, Legacy of Kain. This is one of the first PS1 games that I really enjoyed. The FMVs were mind-blowing and the story kept me immersed. I couldn't wait to play more of the game. And the music in the game set the perfect mood. Sometimes when something fits so well and does its job so good, you don't even think about it. It's when it doesn't fit that it sticks out like a sore thumb. So with no further delay, let's talk about one of the darkest soundtracks on the PlayStation 1. In at number 10, we have The Road to Vengeance. After you are slaughtered and left for dead, you begin your road to vengeance, and as soon as you approach the Pillars of Nosgoth, this track begins to play. A synthesized flute kicks in that reminds me of Bloodsport or the original Karate Kid trilogy. Its dark feel sets the mood perfectly for what seems to be a long road ahead, full of blood, death, and of course revenge. Now you may be surprised to hear, but this track also reminds me of the Echo the Dolphin soundtrack on the Sega CD, and more specifically, the track titled The Marble Sea. I don't know if this Legacy of Kain soundtrack was produced using the same synthesizer or not, but if you like this soundtrack, I recommend listening to the Echo CD soundtrack. Number 9. Flying to VORADOR'S Mansion. In one of the more action-packed themes, this one kicks in once you travel to VORADOR'S Mansion. The piano in the background at the beginning has a mean feel to it, then some strings kick in mixed in with some tubular-sounding bells. This track would have been higher on the list if it was longer. It clocks in at just over 30 seconds. If it was longer and built on the melody, it would have easily been higher. But since it's not, it had to settle for 9th place. Number 8. WILLENDORF. A track that starts off with a bit of a somber tone, with the flute starting up, along with more of those tubular bells. The beat goes even more in depth when a string instrument joins. This track is short but sweet, and when I say sweet, I don't mean friendly and lovey-dovey, but just that it gets its point across and it doesn't need 5 minutes to do it. It clocks in a little over a minute, but I really like it. Another track that fits perfectly in a cold world. Lucky number 7. Flying to NUPRAPTOR'S Retreat. In one of the faster-paced beats, you can tell the composer of this soundtrack loves tubular bells mixed with strings. This track also includes a synthesized choir style of singing voice mixed in the background. Near the end of the theme, it starts to slow down in tempo, but the same general mood is there. The flying themes are all pretty short because they are only played while flying to the destination. but that doesn't stop the composer from going all out and making it as dark and evil as he could. Number 6. KAIN'S Mausoleum. One of the first tracks that plays once you actually take control of our main character, making it a very memorable theme. It is from your home base after all. Another track that has synthesized choir vocals, I think it's a really good theme to start the game with. The beat even contains the sound of thunder, giving the vibe of a storm. Maybe a clue as to what you're in for. A hectic and unpredictable adventure awaits. Number 5. Flying to MALEK'S Bastion. The last flying theme on our list today, another fast-paced but yet still dark-sounding theme. I know I have said the word dark too many times, but if one word was to summarize this soundtrack, that may be it. This theme has plenty of instruments going on at the same time, but the composer did a splendid job mixing them all together. As all flying themes, this clocks in at about 30 seconds. I wouldn't change anything about it, besides making it longer. But for what it was created for, it fits perfectly. Number 4. NUPRAPTOR'S theme. I really like the progression in this theme. It has a slower tempo near the beginning. The synthesizer and instruments they chose for the soundtrack are really good. I like the tubular bells mixed with the strings. This is another track that makes me think of the Echo Sega CD soundtrack. Both have a slow tempo and eerie feel to them. To top it off, they even throw in some vocals. A lady speaks, and after that, the tempo picks up with a strong sounding piano. And yet again, some thunder mixed into the track. I am really curious to which synthesizer they used for this soundtrack. I really like the sounds it produces.
You are lost beyond all hope.
Number 3. AVERNUS Cathedral. One of my favorite themes on the soundtrack. It starts off slow, then builds and builds. Around the 30-second mark, the song really starts to get going, and that's my favorite part of the track. The mean-sounding piano with its low octaves mixed with more tubular bells. The composer of this soundtrack really likes to mix tubular bells and low-octave pianos, but what can I say? I can't blame the guy because it fits. This theme has a wartime feel to it, and considering your mission of vengeance, it's understandable. A perfect theme to slaughter your enemies and drink their blood to. Number 2, VORADOR'S Mansion. This track sums up the soundtrack very well. It has the bells, synthesized choir style of voices, and all of that is laid on top of some war style drums. If someone has never heard the soundtrack before and wanted to hear a track that had all of the elements mixed together, this would be the one I played for them. Its dark and evil feel is perfect for Legacy of Kain. If you were to explain the game, it would be a lot like explaining this track. The entire soundtrack was composed by Steve Hennepin. He has composed the soundtracks to 7 different video games, including Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes. Number 1, ELZIVAR the Dollmaker. Our top spot today comes from the most unique theme on the soundtrack. Of all the themes on the soundtrack, this one stands out the most to me. It contains a lot of the same instruments as the other themes in the game, but it concentrates on those bells. The melody is my favorite in the game. To sum this track up, if hell had a circus, and that circus had a theme song, this could be it. It's not the most evil, and it's not the darkest on the soundtrack, but we chose it for our top spot today because in my opinion, it's the most memorable, and like I said, the most unique. The good thing about music is usually everyone has different tastes. I don't really expect anyone to agree with all top 10, and even less to agree with the top spot. So if you agree or disagree, feel free to let us know in the comments. And also feel free to suggest any soundtracks you would like to see a top 10 of. We try to stick to games and soundtracks that we have a connection to. It doesn't feel right to do a top 10 when it's our first time listening to it. We might not do it justice. But anyways, from now until then, I am ICC. Thanks for watching. Peace.